Today, we are discussing one of my favorite topics, intuition. So, how do you know if it's your intuition? As I was preparing for this recording and thinking about what I was going to say and how I wanted to share my thoughts and my experiences on intuition, the only thing that could come through me, which is so funny because it's intuition, is the Whitney Houston song, How Will I Know If He Really Loves Me? And how she's like screaming in the song, How will I know? How will I know? How will I know? And that song about says it all. That's one of the most human questions that we can ask. How will I know if this is right? How will I know if he loves me? How will I know that this is the right thing? And when we talk about intuition, intuition begins with listening to ourselves. Where we question it is when we want to know that the end result or what happens by making the decision from the intuition will be what we desire. And that holding on to that end result, that gripping towards that, often holds us back from feeling the free flow of our intuition. Because when the stakes are low and you're feeling your intuition throughout the day, which all of us are almost all of the time, when the stakes are low, we do it all the time. Take a left, take a right. I feel like I should go to the grocery store now. I feel like I should call this person. I can feel somebody walking in the room behind me. We use it all of the time. We begin to question it when we don't know how it will all work out if we do listen. That's my perspective on this. So, how do we know? How do I know? So, how do I know when it's my intuition? Intuition begins with listening. Before we can even understand our intuition or strengthen it or trust it, we have to be willing to listen and to feel. So the body holds the intuition. Yes, there is like clear audience and messages can come through the mind, but in your whole body is an intuitive instrument, and intuition will come in behind the noise of the mind. And intuition can come through subtle messages that we feel through physical sensations or emotional sensations. Intuition is clear, but it can come through little feelings or impulses by fear or conditioning or the desire for the end result. The question isn't really, can I hear my intuition? It's, do I trust myself to follow it when it matters? So I love exploring these early stories from when my brother passed, because the community that I'm in is so beautiful and it's growing so quickly, and it has brought me back to why I started. And I have an intuitive story that is very simple, but it was very meaningful, and it planted a seed in that first year that led me to where I am now. So about 4 months after my brother had passed, my husband and I went to Ireland for a wedding. And I was really excited about going to Ireland because my brother's name was Patrick Byrne, a very Irish name, and he loved his Irish heritage. So I was excited to go there and to kind of be there with my overwhelming grief and just explore some of this like beautiful, amazing country. So the first stop was we went to Dublin, and in Dublin I really wanted to go to St. Patrick's Cathedral and Garden to light a candle for him, to say a prayer for him, and to just be in this space that had the same name as him. So we had a full day in Dublin, and then we finally made it over to the cathedral, and it had just closed. So I was, deep in the early stages of grief when you're just crying all the time. And to be disappointed like that on top of it just crushed me. So I was really just like bumming out. And we went and walked around St. Patrick's Garden, and I started to, feel some peace and be in the beautiful energy, be really present in the garden. And as we're walking around, there are all these magpies and they're really loud. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they saying? And they're really loud. And like behind that noise of the magpies, I heard, felt, take a picture. Now, the cell phones are different. This is like 14 years ago, 14 and a half years ago. So I picked up my phone and I took a picture, and then I just put it back in my bag and we kept walking. And then we ended up at a pub later. And when we got there, I looked through my phone, and as I was flipping through that picture that I just picked up and heard take a picture, what is in the picture is the outline of the sky, but in St. Patrick's Garden, there was nothing in front of me when I took the picture, but what is in the picture is the image of a little boy running with the shadow of a boy, and from it, a blast of light and a emerald green cross, Celtic cross in a bubble of light. And then all around that are all of these pink bubbles of light. And I sat down at the pub, I'm looking at this, and I'm like, oh my God. They said, take the picture. And so it brought me peace and solace, but I didn't take the picture thinking, I hope that this is a spiritual picture. I just took the picture and then went on with it. So this happened, and then later that night, when we went home, I fell asleep and I had one of the most incredible dreams where he was visiting and explaining to me all kinds of things about his completed soul contracts and some families that we knew, and how happy he was that that was all done and what a great time he's having and all of that. But the point of the story is that I heard and felt, do this. And so I did it. And it led to something that is still on my like Facebook homepage because it's just such a special picture to me. So intuition isn't like reserved for a few people. It's working with your body, it's working with how you feel, and it's a relationship. It's a relationship with your inner knowing, with your guides, with your spirit. It's a relationship with what is unseen. Most importantly, though, developing your intuition is a practice of self-trust. So there are so many different ways that intuition may communicate. They're often called the clairs, which means clear. So like clairvoyance is clear seeing, like seeing an image or a symbol in your mind. Clairaudience, clear hearing. You may hear a word or sentence or voice or song. Claircognizance is like a clear knowing without understanding how you know. Clair sentence, clear, which is like clear feeling, emotional, physical sensation. We can also receive information through dreams, through signs, through synchronicities. But when we are tapped into our intuition, we are present. So when I think about that picture moment, I was grieving. There was a lot of heavy emotion. But even through the grief, I was present. The birds were really loud, and I was listening to them and curious about them, and outdoors and in the space. And although my grief was so loud, I still had that connection to that inner voice to listen to it. So intuition is received through us. We experience it through our senses, through our energetic field, through awareness, through our presence of ourselves. Yoga, of course, comes from the Sanskrit word yog, which means yoke, join, or unite. So yoga is union. It brings together what has become fragmented, the body mind, or the breath and awareness, or the human and the spirit, or the body and the emotions. And yoga, as a big picture, reminds us that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and our spiritual nature is already present. But our human experience brings with it conditioning, fear, trauma, distraction, and constant movement of the mind. And these things don't destroy your intuition, but they just can make it more difficult to tap into. And especially when there are certain situations where our belief systems or our fears are louder, it can make the intuition harder to listen to. So these practices can help open and balance the energy centers, the chakras. So the root chakra helps us feel safe enough to inhabit the body. So the basis of the chakra system, the foundation is, am I safe in this body here on earth? So the practice of yoga helps us first and foremost bring safety in, and then working our way upwards, the sacral center reconnects us with our emotion, with sensation, with creativity, with inspiration, with flow. The solar plexus develops agency and helps us recognize that embodied feeling of yes or no. The heart helps us perceive through love rather than separation. The throat allows inner truth to become expression. The third eye opens inner vision, imagination, and intuitive perception. And then the crown connects us with higher consciousness and awareness, and it helps us see potential, possibility. This is the space that connects us to the quantum, to the void, to all that is. And so all of these centers do not operate separately. So you may receive an intuitive message through your ajna, through the third eye, and it's there. But if the throat, the space of truth and communication, is constricted, you may feel afraid to say it. And you may know or feel a truth in your solar plexus, but if your root chakra doesn't feel safe, you may override it. So the whole system is working together based on where the energy field is at. So developing intuition requires this entire system working together. We need grounding, we need emotional honesty, we need boundaries, we need to understand our needs, we need to understand how we process our own emotions and how we feel. We need our trust and self-worth and an open heart and the courage to express what we know without knowing what the end results will be. Sometimes an intuitive no can bring up fear, especially when you've been conditioned to care for everyone else's emotions, to be good, or to put your needs last as being a good person in this situation. So your intuition may say, I need time for myself. But then your conditioning says, you're selfish. Someone will be disappointed. You're not being good if you do not give yourself up for others. So the fear does not necessarily mean an intuitive message isn't coming through, but sometimes the fear conditioning is louder than the intuitive message itself. So intuition requires discernment. Allow yourself to remember how much your intuition has guided you and how safe it has been when you didn't know what the end result would be. So self trust, again, is not about believing I'm always going to be right. It's about remaining in an honest relationship with yourself. So, right now, in this moment, your intuition is communicating with you. You're not waiting to become intuitive, you already are. So, I encourage you here to take the next step in building your intuition and do something that makes you feel good, makes you feel safe, and makes you feel like you're honoring all of that beautiful energy that lights you up inside. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Um, so, a few ways if you would like to work with myself or our community at Mandira to develop your intuition. This Thursday, August 20th, we have a intuitive circle that is very open-hearted and loving. That is a part of our membership at Mandira in Fairfield, Connecticut, but you can also drop in. We would love to have you. Each of the ceremonies that we run at Mandira, they're in person and virtual. They always have intuitive development components to them. The next full moon ceremony that we have coming up is very exciting. It's the Sturgeon full moon. The ceremony is on August 24th at Mandira, and this will be a cord cutting ceremony. So it will be highly energetic, and you have an option if you would like to purchase your own cord cutting kit to take home to continue the process, or if you're not able to attend, you are welcome also to purchase the cord cutting kit, and within that kit is instructions on how to do that, but we'll also talk about that during the ceremony. And then other ways to work with us on intuition. I quarterly run Reiki 1 and 2. Reiki opens our energy field and helps with the healing process. So that's something to look into. I run those both in person and virtually. But if you have someone in your area that you wanted to meet in person with, I would highly encourage that. And if you're already Reiki 1 and 2, this September, I am running my next Asui Holy Fire Reiki Master course, and this is a 6-month course. Reiki Master Teacher, if that's of interest, that's on my website. And last but certainly not least, I run private energy healing sessions at my space in downtown Fairfield called Mandira Above. It is the space upstairs from Mandira. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I run sessions and spiritual coaching and some private groups up there as well. So I hope to hear from you soon. Would love some feedback on this podcast as it's developing. So please leave a comment, please subscribe and follow, please share with anyone that you think this might resonate with. Would love to hear feedback or requests for topics. So once again, thank you.